All right. Well, welcome to the Video Lab live show. It's Monday, November 20th, and this is your weekly interactive live show about video specific marketing. Now, I need to mute my computer over here because I'm starting to get some audio. There we go. I just am double checking, making sure everything's going. I heard it, through the corner of my ear. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I heard it on my monitor computer over here. So need to mute that. Now, if you're looking for a way to build trust with your audience and increase the likelihood that they'll purchase from you, you're going to want to stick around for this conversation with Troy Klongerbo from Mount Haley. And I'm excited to have Troy on the show today. And towards the end of the show, he's actually going to bring his the one thing that you can take away from this whole conversation. If you don't get anything else from this whole conversation that we have today, make sure you stick around for Troy's one thing because you're not going to want to miss that. Now, I originally met Troy through some projects we were working on together when he was doing marketing at Fisheye Marketing, and the types of projects we were filming would be what I would consider high value type video content. Now, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, how about you toss some thinking emojis into the chat right now? And speaking of the chat, this live show is fully interactive, which means at any point you can jump into the comments or the chat and bring your questions. I'm going to pop up the chat right now so that we can see it. You can jump into the chat at any time, ask questions, bring input. And I want to start this chat. I want to get it warmed up right now. Actually, go to the chat, say hi, and let me know where you're watching from. So if you're watching right now, jump in, say hi, let me know where you're watching from. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Caleb, and I'm a video educator and content creator and founder of the Video Lab Sioux Falls, which is fully video education, kind of like this show that we're doing right now, fully video production for social media and website videos, and also a video studio for content creators that need to make simple and quick video content. Now, I've been doing small scale freelance video production since 2012 in and around Sioux Falls. And I also have a YouTube channel, which is just my name, and it's very niche camera content, but I work with filmmaking brands from around the world, making video content for them. And I actually just got back this past Friday. I just got back from California for a little content trip with Panasonic. I'm looking forward to getting some of those videos out that I was shooting out there. Zach jumps into the chat. Zach, I'm so glad you're here, man. Howdy, fellas. Zach's watching from Sioux Falls. Thanks for jumping in, Zach. It's good to have you in the chat. Now, I started the Video Lab live show as a weekly interactive live show streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn to help you harness the power of online video with video-specific marketing tips, tricks, and trends. And I really hope that this show brings some value to you and provides things that you can incorporate into your workflow like right away, like today. And having Troy on the show today, I think we're going to have some very, very interesting things to talk about and things that you can incorporate right away. Now, again, if you're just joining us, I've got marketing expert Troy Klongerbo on the show today. And remember, this is totally an interactive show. And I want you to jump into the chat, say hi, let me know where you're watching from, and let me know the struggles that you have when putting video content out there. What questions do you have about video content, and maybe specifically about high value video content, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. Now, I do need to give a little disclaimer as we kind of get into this show before we get into the conversation. These episodes are just to show some possibilities that you have with video, but it doesn't necessarily mean everything is going to work like magic for you. It requires a ton of hard work and consistency and some strategy, and possibly even partnering with some professionals like Troy or myself to get the results that you hope for. And with that being said, how about you toss some clap emoji hands into the chat, and let's bring in Troy. And this guest intro is sponsored by The Breaks Coffee. Hey, Troy.
Hey, Caleb.
How you doing?
Okay, first of all, I don't know if anybody else is like giving enough props to your studio here.
Whoa. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
This is so cool. Like, you got everything set up.
Well, this is great actually having you in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So spread the word, man.
I think it's great. I think I was in here a few months ago.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
Didn't get to see this whole setup. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So I, set up everything for the stream. Now, if I do have to go out on a shoot or something, you know, I do have to tear it down and all that. But you know, it's a pretty. I marked everything out on the carpet, right, with tape to make sure I have everything in the same everything in the same spot. So you know, it's a pretty quick setup when it comes down to it. But thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Now, you're with Mount Haley.
Yep.
Can you explain a little bit about what you're doing right now?
Yeah, and I think video format's a great place for me to sort of explain, because I think everybody I talk to in my personal life is confused by what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'll give a brief little background. So currently I'm with Mount Haley Holdings.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a partner there. We function sort of as a holding company.
Okay.
For 6 years before that, in 2016, I started a marketing agency here in Sioux Falls called Fisheye Marketing.
Yeah. Love it.
Still run Fisheye Marketing underneath the Mount Haley Holdings umbrella portfolio of companies. So pared the agency down a little bit to focus more on some of the holdings that we have at Mount Haley, but still service a handful of clients. I've got clients in the beekeeping space.
Okay.
Got clients in the golf space.
All right.
Personal development space. I got a few, close to a half a dozen clients I'm still servicing at Fisheye, where we focus on email content, social media marketing. And then at the holding company level, we've got a publishing company called Homestead Living.
Cool.
We've got an e-learning company called the School of Nutritional Skills.
Love it.
We've got a creator agency called Good People Digital. We've got Fisheye, and we're kind of spread out, trying to kind of create value and kind of grow those holdings inside the portfolio.
Do you sleep at all, or?
Yeah, I try to. But we've got a 16-month-old kid at home too. So it's like, how much sleep are you really gonna get?
Yeah.
Sleeping's for older people.
You might as well, might as well have like some traditional, print out there too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I love it. Now, we've worked on a couple of projects together, and this is kind of why I wanted to have you on this particular episode, is talking about some of this like high value video content.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, what are your thoughts on some coffee?
Okay, I was gonna say this before too. I'm a caffeine sensitive boy.
Okay. Yep.
I'm a jitter. I'm a jitterbug. I'm a jitterbug. So
That's
I gotta get over to the breaks. I gotta check out and see if they've got a good hot chocolate supply.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sure they do.
They do. Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
They do. They have basically everything that you need, actually, over at the breaks. And this little guest intro is actually sponsored by the breaks. I'm going to toss this QR code up here. Remember, the holidays are coming up. Can you actually believe, Troy, that Thanksgiving is this week?
Can't believe it.
Black Friday, which you have some thoughts on, but then like Christmas, so if you're looking for a great gift, maybe the Absolute Blend from the breakscoffeeroasting.com. So you can use this QR code, go to the website, thebreakscoffeeroasting.com. And these beans, this is the Absolute Blend. This is the blend that I'm drinking. Troy's not drinking any today, which is totally fine.
I should do a sip though.
Yeah, you can do. Well,
I'll do it after.
Here, you can just drink the empty mug.
There we go.
How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, there he's taking a sip of air. No, we're drinking the Absolute Blend today, and this is my favorite blend actually from the Breaks Coffee. Check it out. It makes a great stocking stuffer or Christmas gift for this Christmas.
It's a great idea,
everyone.
Actually.
Yeah. Well, all right, Troy, here we go. You ready for this?
High value.
I don't know why I just took you off the screen there. Let's talk about high value video.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I think what we need to do right now is we need to kind of define what we're talking about. Okay. So when we say high value video, what is it we're actually talking about?
Advisory for high value for them was far different than probably the definition of high value that you might see with like the YouTube internet giants, like the Mr. Beasts and the Dude Perfects. I mean, they were maybe only delivering content that 65 people or 91 people would watch, but we'd go deep into something like a Roth IRA. And it would be very highly valuable. And
we were doing trick shots. We were not doing trick shots.
Not doing trick shots. Not doing trick shots. We weren't going to islands and doing anything crazy, but we'd go deep into a topic that their clientele would want to learn more about. We bring a ton of value in a 4, 6, 9, 11-minute video. And they would deliver it to their audience via email and say, hey, here's our latest video. And they'd get emails back saying, thank you so much. Please don't stop creating content like this, because they don't know how to source this information. So they're creating value. So anyways, the way I like to define high value content is it's content that informs and it's content that entertains.
I love that.
I feel like if it's content that just informs but doesn't have like a level of entertainment, you may not have the grab or the retention in that video. People are like, short attention spans in today's world. Like they're going to beeline out of there in a second if they're not entertained.
Absolutely.
But if content is just entertaining, but it doesn't pack any value, it doesn't pack any information, doesn't pack anything that they can take into their lives to better their lives, it's vapid, it's light, it's fleeting. So I like to find content that can kind of fill both.
Okay. So like, for example, let's say you are talking about a Roth IRA. How do you make that entertaining? Like what are some elements that you would put in there that would kind of add to that entertainment factor?
Great question. So some of the things that we did a lot in post-production. So you do things like little graphics and animations on the screen that can kind of help provide a visual effect to maybe what they're trying to learn, like a abstract topic, and they can see it in a visual standpoint. We also spent efforts before shooting the content to our guys on camera were pretty chill about stuff, so they'd be able to make jokes on camera.
That helps
a ton, and the personality side too. I think part of entertainment, like we think we need to be maybe stand-up comedy, like we need to be like Jerry Seinfeld, or we need to be things that are like things are exploding to be entertaining, like being yourself with a smile, with warmth, and being succinct. All that is entertaining. People like watching someone who's knowledgeable, who's warm, who's energetic. Like you can bring energy, and that could be entertaining in and of itself, even if you're covering kind of a dry topic.
Well, and like talking to me, like I don't know anything about Roth IRAs. I can't even say it. See, but like talking in a way that I would understand. I feel like that would be like high value right there, even
for sure.
Like talking in step-by-step processes, or the different types of Roth IRAs, or whatever that might be. Like really breaking it down in simple form to like, that's high value to somebody like me. That might not necessarily, maybe I just go and find that somewhere. I'm able to learn and be educated.
Totally. And I think through something that's valuable, it has a show me effect to it. Like think of what's made YouTube big, even amongst like baby boomers and stuff. It's like they'll go on YouTube. Like my dad found it on YouTube, how to fix a door splint or something like that. Like people want value that can show me, like show me. So it's like a Roth IRA, like to be informative and to be entertaining, show me how, what do I need to know? Oh, this is how a basic account, yada, yada, yada. We don't have to go into Roth IRAs now.
Totally.
But showing people and teaching people can be highly entertaining and informational.
And I know some videos that I need to binge watch over the holidays here are some Blackstone videos, because in 2024, like I have a Blackstone, 22-inch Blackstone tabletop, but I want to enhance my ability on Blackstone. So I'm just going to go and binge a bunch of Blackstone.
Those things are versatile.
They are very versatile. I did some breakfast on there.
You can do breakfast. You can do stir fry. I did steak
everything.
On.
Yes.
Steak on that is fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. So I know that I'm going to be binge watching. And, when it comes to some of this high value content that we're talking about, like you almost want to shape it in a way that people keep coming back, not necessarily like, sometimes when we think about binge watching, we think about like just sitting on the couch watching Netflix or something, like binging shows and things like that. But you want these videos to be like, they keep coming back for information, like they are looking to you. So like, what are some of the benefits that we find with some of this high value content?
I mean, you kind of alluded to it there. It's like through creating what I say, is being consistent. Consistent high value content is going to create audience for you. It's going to create audience for you because people are going to be getting and extracting value. And I think building an audience online today is like an absolute superpower. It helps you cut through the noise of the world. Building an audience, whether that be like on YouTube, that would be like adding subscribers to your channel, an email list. I still think that the email list is like the white knife. It just it's the top numero uno. Building up a Facebook following, Instagram following, that type of stuff. Building an audience can really help. So I've got a client that's in the beekeeping space. His name is John. He's in rural Illinois. I think the population of their town's a couple hundred people, but he sells beekeeping products throughout the country.
That's amazing.
Extractors and uncapping tanks. And he's just a good old fashioned boy. He's just down to earth. I think he was raised in either a Mennonite or Hutterite family. He wears his blue jeans to work. Howdy, folks. And I say, John, just get on camera, be yourself. And he's the same guy on camera as he is on customer service calls.
Love it.
And you start seeing that show up in the comments. I mean, his videos now, we're probably publishing between 2 and 5 videos a month. And, it'll get 1,700 views, 33 comments, and it's all sorts of people saying, "Hi, John, how are you? This was so helpful. Thank you." And it's like before he wasn't really doing this type of stuff, and he's like, "It's amazing how many comments I'm getting from people." I'm like, John, you're just creating audience.
Well,
people who want to know you are seeing that stuff that you're doing is valuable and just are following along.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. Like, it's a process. It's stuff that you do on a regular basis. Like, it's pretty easy just to like turn your phone on and start recording what you're doing. And then you can kind of turn that into some of that video content that we're talking about.
By the way, you're a pretty humble guy. So you're not going to brag for yourself, but I'll brag for you because that's what you're doing with this.
Well, I appreciate
what you're doing with this. Like, you're showing, I think there's a camera right behind me, actually, that's like showing the set here, showing the different cameras. Like, you're showing people.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways,
I appreciate that. Thank you. And this is to provide high value content, like of bringing experts in like yourself to kind of just talk about like the marketing side and the content side of video, which what I love about this is like, it's a breakout session every week. You know what I mean? Like, you go to a video marketing conference, you're going to, pay a lot of money for a lot of this stuff. But here we get to have a conversation, live on air about some of this video marketing stuff.
I love it.
And you can even jump into the chat, which if you do have any questions about high value content for Troy or myself, make sure you jump into the chat and ask those questions. I am going to, before we go any further, okay, I know we're kind of going fast here, but I just want to bring up this QR code. This is for the Video Lab video playbook, which is a guide, a free digital download for you to, if you have any questions about, making your own video content or anything like that. I put together this Video Lab video playbook, and it's just a digital guide to help you enhance your web presence. The link should be down in the description, or you can use that QR code that's popping up there. But I've got everything on here, from like crafting compelling video content to like some of the analytics, or like what a successful video actually looks like, or maybe even future proofing some of your videos. And if it's just a guide to start getting into video content, if you're not already doing it, maybe optimizing videos for local engagement. And I even have some, like, they're not necessarily case studies, but they're kind of like niche studies, like real estate, fitness, personal finance niche, like the types of video content that, would do well in some of those little different areas there. So I encourage you to go download the Video Lab video playbook and check that out. And it's just a guide to help you. So go download that. And I need to find where my mouse is here. Oh, there we go.
It's a fantastic resource, by the way. Nice work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Go download that. Just pop in your email address and you can go and download that video playbook. So
that's great.
All right. We are talking about, I need to catch my breath here. We're just like cruising through this. I love it.
Good stuff.
Okay. We're talking a little bit about the benefits of maybe bringing some high value content. You're talking about, building that audience. And one of the things I really think happens when you start putting out some of that video content and talking freely about some of these things is like, you're going to start building trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you speak into that just a little bit? Like what does that mean when you build trust with your audience?
Yeah. I may have buried the lead a little bit too with my client, John, because he's the first person that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Maybe it's recency bias, but
that could be.
He's the same. There's a level of authenticity there.
Yeah.
And I think people, when they're watching video, they can immediately tell whether someone is authentic or not.
Right.
I actually think we brought up the name Mr. Beast earlier. He's like the leader and all this stuff. I actually think one of the reasons that he connects with people is I think they see that Jimmy Donaldson, that Mr. Beast, as like that's him.
Yeah.
That's the same guy. It's the same guy on video in front of 100 million people as he probably is with his buddies. And I think authenticity, and that's what really allows video to have like a superpower element to it, because you know, in a blog format, you can articulate your thoughts, but there's a level of an ability to kind of hide behind words. Podcasts, you know, there's power to voice, but without people being able to see maybe the nonverbal cues.
Right.
There's a certain level of hiding there, or a certain level of post-production where you can kind of create the content that you want to be producing. But video kind of strips a lot of that stuff away. And people can see, like, how does that person respond? Are they smiling? Are they good at making eye contact? Do they seem like a real person? Like, you can really build that authenticity. And I think when people see someone that is authentic and knowledgeable, and they're getting value from that person, they just inherently want to follow that person. They want to follow along for the ride. So
and I love that. And I think another thing too is, like, when you have that audience, like the audience, and you start bringing this high value content, the audience is going to have their answers in video form before they even realize, like, they're having questions about whether that's your product or service or whatever that is. Like, the audience has the answers. So, and they keep coming back for those answers of questions they might not even realize they have.
Yeah, totally. When I'm thinking about that, like, I think it's so important too, when you're creating content, is to really think about the audience that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So for like John, for example, he knows he's reaching beekeepers.
Yep.
Beekeepers throughout the country. Yeah. The beekeepers are there. And by the way, beekeepers, if you're out here and you're a beekeeper and you were trying to market yourself, YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, beekeepers love YouTube. I don't know what it is. So anyways, I had the same exact experience. I used to work for a company called US Golf TV. I was editor-in-chief for a handful of years. And I did a lot of video on camera. I had to go back and look, maybe between 40 and 80 videos on their YouTube channel.
Okay.
And one thing that we did was we really kind of honed in on who our audience was.
Yep.
Because it was a golf channel, right? But it's not necessarily all golfers. We didn't have PGA Tour professionals on there. We didn't have super high level amateur players. We had everyday golfers.
Yeah.
So we were thinking through, like, what provides value to an everyday golfer. It's like, well, they want to improve their game.
Yep.
They want to understand. I remember one video we did was talking about hybrids. It's like a mix between an iron and a wood for the non-golfers out there. And I did a full video on hybrids. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, like tens and tens and tens of thousands of views. Yep. I think I'd have to go look. It might have even 200,000 or 300,000 views on YouTube, because it was providing value to a specific type of person. Another thing that we did is the golf channel all the time would run products. So they would run a product, they'd put a commercial on, and that commercial would show up like every 6 commercials, that product. And people would see the video or see the commercial. They'd see it's 30 seconds or 90 seconds, infomercial type. And they're immediately trying to vet out, like, is that thing any good or not? And they're running to Google and they're typing in the product name. And so we would get the products and review them on camera. I'd do a 20-minute review with a wood or an iron or something that's being talked about. And the amount of trust that channel built with people. I mean, some people would come in and they would roast me and say, like, that's not exactly right, which is going to happen. But it created dialogue in there. And then we could go in and respond, and then that community would be built, and people would see that there's trust. Oh, we actually have access to these people. They're seeing our comments and responding. Tons of people would comment, like, this is the most valuable club review I've seen on YouTube, because you dove in and you said the things you thought were bogus. You said the things you thought were great.
Totally.
I don't know. I think if you really can hone in on your audience, like who they are, the pain points that they're having, and then creating that value. I mean, value really is in the eye of the beholder. Right. Who's on the receiving end? Like, you can have the most valuable thing about Panasonic Lumix cameras. And if there's someone that's never going to use one, it is not valuable to them. So value is only in how it relates to the person on the other end of the camera, on the other end of the screen. So creating it for them and creating it to bring them specific value, I think is the unlock.
And that's one of the 4 core concepts that I have at the Video Lab here, is just that community, like that community that you are making those videos for. So, like, consistency, community, then the actual content itself, and then the creativity part of it. So, like, that's kind of like your unfair advantage. Maybe it's your personality on camera, or maybe it's the skills that you have, like golfing, or maybe it's the access that you have to golf clubs or Lumix cameras. And then you contribute all that, that to that community. I love that audience, that community, that target, really. And so once they have that trust in you, and you kind of are building that audience, they're more likely to purchase.
Oh, for sure they are.
Yeah.
For sure they are.
All right. Now, this is okay. So we kind of defined, right? We've kind of defined what high value video is and gone into a lot of other things about like, building the audience, building trust and things like that. Now, let's actually talk a little bit about the types of high value content that you can create. And so let's, before we do that, Zach chimed in here and I just want to pop this up. Can you talk a little bit behind choosing the length of video content? This is a great question, Zach. The length of video content.
Yeah. Should I go ahead and just offer my opinions?
Right on. Let's do it.
I don't know if there's a rule for length.
Yeah.
I think people oftentimes will say, well, you want to create something that's short and quick and jumpy so that you can retain your audience.
Yeah.
Because if it's long, you'll lose them.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. Go tell that to the folks that developed the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, right. Those are long.
12 hours of video and people are glued to it.
Yeah.
You didn't lose
especially
anybody.
The behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. It just breaks it out forever. So you're not losing anybody. So I would say, depending on what industry you're in, experiment with stuff.
Yeah.
I would tend to always experiment on the longer side first, because what you can do with longer form content is you can actually break it down into shorter form content. So, there's this concept, I'm sure many out there know this idea of like pillar content.
Yeah.
You create that 18-minute, 25-minute. I mean,
that's been around in blog posts for a long time.
Blog posts. Yep, exactly. And then break that down into tweets and individual Facebook posts and whatever email content stuff. You're doing it here. I mean, this is like a pillar content here.
Yep.
And maybe I say one smart thing on here and then you can chop that
100%
and make that short form content. Now
you can count on it that you'll be chopped up.
There we go. Chopped up. Perfect. So anyways, to answer the question on choosing length of video, I think previously, if you were listening probably 4 or 5 minutes ago, we were just talking about audience. Put your foot, put your feet in the shoes of your audience to start and say, okay, where are we at with them and what's going to bring them the most value? Maybe the most value to start wouldn't be a 40-minute podcast, but I think just start experimenting with stuff. I think way too often people think through like, how I can retain them by being quippy and short and quick. And you may not even you may not be giving your audience enough credit. You may not be giving yourself enough credit for the true value you provide.
Yep.
So anyways, experimentation, every single industry is a little different. It'd be hilarious probably to find the things that really hit in some areas and doesn't hit in other areas.
Right.
Create big pillar content, chop it up with the valuable parts.
And to go on to add on to that too, like sometimes it takes a little bit, like 50 videos or 100 videos to kind of like find what is catching as well, So if it's like, maybe it is kind of down the road, maybe it's like Instagram Reels, all of a sudden, like you're getting traction and engagement on Instagram Reels. Well, maybe start doubling down on that type of content that you made that caught that engagement. Whatever that might be. And maybe it's just shot with your cell phone and then you go into some like high produced video or something. It's kind of like cell phone intro. And then you go into like the high produced type content. And so really experiment with it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, experiment with it, but it might take a little bit, it might take a little while if maybe your engagement is through email marketing, so how can you kind of target those? That might be a little bit longer form content. If you're sending people, to those videos through email. So it might take a few videos, but I feel like in my experience, within that 100 video range, whatever that is, like shorts or longer form videos, something's going to catch in there.
Totally.
Something's going to catch. Double down on that type of content.
And I had this note written down and I may call back on it here in a couple minutes. But there's really something to be said too about creating. I'm gonna kind of advocate for the longer content.
Yeah.
Because there's something to be said about creating that pillar piece of content, and it has a long tail to it.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of stuff show up in my Instagram Reels or any of that type of stuff that was created 6 months ago or a year ago or a year and a half ago. But like, geez, I'll have a long form interview with someone maybe like in the political space or a sports star. 4 years ago and be like, 47 minutes interviewed about what?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll watch that.
Yeah, right.
And you never know what's going to really hit maybe in the long form. And even just having that content out there, now people can call back on it. Maybe something happens in the news and that's able to kind of tick up. And also if you're just being authentic and you're looking to provide value to people and it's telling your story of your business or your company or your personal brand or whatever, put the long form out there.
Yeah.
people are going to always want to discover down the road, and they won't care necessarily that it's 18 months old. They're like, right. Oh, here's a 7-minute video. This guy telling me exactly about his company.
Kind of evergreen a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
To kind of go on this question a little bit more, what would you consider long form content? Like minute wise, what would you consider long form content?
I would say you've probably got short form existing as 90 seconds or less, kind of medium form, that 90 second to 5 minute. I feel like anything north of 5 minutes is sort of long form. But I would encourage people from if you can be entertaining and informative and you can keep an attention span, I don't think there's anything wrong with going for 32 minutes, 27 minutes, 48 minutes, Lord of the Rings, 12 hours.
And especially if it's like a conversation like this, right? Like if it's more conversation based, I mean, you can go 60 minutes and it could still be engaging because you never know what's going to happen on like a video podcast or something like that.
Lex Friedman does a great job of that. He'll do a 4-hour podcast and people are just tuned in. They listen to him,
Well, and I think that's interesting because like, especially on those like video podcasts. Now I'm going to say this, we're going to get into this in a little bit. Actually, maybe I just should save this. I'm just going to save it. Okay. I'm going to save it for a little bit about video podcast.
Because got it coming up.
It's very intriguing. Okay. That's just a little foreshadow. Now, if you have any other questions about high value video or anything about video content, you can toss those into the chat, and we'd love to have a little conversation around those questions.
Thanks to Zach for the question.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. That's a great question. Now we're talking about now the types of high value content, and there's a bunch of different types, but I think we just kind of narrowed it down to 5 that I think are like really, really good starter types of content to video content to get you rolling. And one of those is answering frequently asked questions.
Yeah, that comes straight down to, instead of having to put yourself in your audience's shoes, they're telling you exactly what they want to know. They're asking the same questions. And I think a piece of video content can go a long ways towards creating clarity around your product, around your service. You get the same question 90 times. Boy, a nice little 2-minute video to explain what that means could help solve that question for future people, but it immediately creates more value for them, without having to search it out, vet it out. They get explained. Then you get to add your own little brand elements to it. You get to add personality to it. So,
well, and I love the thought of like already having those questions answered before they even realize they have those questions. And so like having like, just go to your website, go to your frequently asked questions section, and just answer every one of those in a video. Or like, what are questions that you get on a regular basis that come through email or phone calls or whatever? You keep track of those, answer those with videos, and put them out there, and put a catchy title to it, which is a whole nother topic. Title's a whole nother topic that we're not going to get into today. But just providing those answers to questions that are coming in all the time. I love that.
If you think about how people use search engines, they're typing questions into search engines.
That's exactly
all the
what it is. Yeah.
And so like, if you can, we can maybe get into like the SEO side of video in a different video too, but like even just having like a good title with a good meta description and a good caption around those keywords. Someone types that question in, boom, like YouTube, surprisingly, YouTube is the number 2 search platform in the world.
It is. Yep.
Google, YouTube. So like people are going to see videos pop up in there, and it gives you an additional brand touch.
And YouTube videos are showing up in your Google search results anyway. So it's like, let's say you're a realtor in town, like 5 best restaurants to visit in Sioux Falls, or 5 reasons to move your family to Sioux Falls, or something like that. Like it could be simple things like that, like go visit 5 restaurants and like interview the chef or something, like
if you're a realtor,
it's easy.
If you're a realtor, like, so what are property taxes like in Sioux Falls, South Dakota?
Exactly.
That's the question. Now you can create a 7-minute video explaining the different counties and where things overlap and where the property tax lines are. And it's like, that is something that's so valuable to someone. Especially when they're looking to move here, which if you're not in Sioux Falls, you should move to Sioux Falls.
You should definitely move to Sioux Falls. Winter's coming though.
Yeah, it's okay. You got the flag there in the background.
I do have the Sioux Falls flag. It's not in this shot right now. I can go to the wide shot.
I think it's kind of in yours a little bit, maybe.
There we go.
Oh, it's in the wide shot.
Yeah, it's in the wide shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to make that into a sound panel actually.
Oh, that's really cool.
That way it actually is doing something rather than just hanging there. Okay, so types of high value video content. Answer frequently asked questions. That's an easy starting point. Like low barrier to entry type stuff. That's an easy way to get started on some of this types of content. Now, another one that I think is kind of low barrier entry is like just addresses the worries that potential customers have. Like maybe you have a service or a product. Like what are some of the worries that might be coming up for those customers?
I think everybody that is looking to sell or buy a product or service also is buying those on the other side.
Yeah.
So we all know the feeling of making a big purchase and immediately having some level of regret of, did I make the right choice?
Right.
Did I make the right decision?
Yep.
I think using video in that place in the customer journey is huge towards just reassuring someone that they've made the right choice, especially if you're a service provider out there and let's say you offer marketing services to someone and they decide to sign a 3-month or a 6-month contract with you and they know it might cost them hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. They sign that thing, they ink it. They're like, oh man, I'm committed to this for the next 6 months. They may have a little feeling of like, did I do the right thing or the wrong thing? Boom, being able to hit them back. If they're in town, obviously you can hit them in person, but like hit them back with a short little video of like how excited you are to have them on board, the things you're going to do with them, I mean, it can be like off the cuff, pull up your phone, shoot a 90-second video and get that to your new customer. I think that can help a ton with eliminating worries of customers. And then if you have a consumer product, like a tiny little product, people are, they're also maybe concerned that product is going to solve their problem. Yeah. So right away, it's like, boom, you made the right choice. Right. This SIM card does this, and this, and we can't wait to get it to you. It's going to get here this, and this day. This is what you can expect. Here's where you can go if you have questions. We're here to help you, serve you. Yeah. You have a really unique opportunity to put away the qualms and worries that your customers have. Yeah, I love that through video.
And also this is kind of where some of those like tutorials come in too as well, like how-to videos or tutorials of maybe some of the products that you're using or however maybe some of your services. Like these are perfect opportunities to do some of those tutorials or how-to content.
And that value, especially if you have like a bigger client for that like services example I used, that video might be only seen by one person. Yeah. But think about the value that provides. Value isn't in terms of the hundreds, the thousands, the millions of views. Yeah. Value can happen on a one-on-one basis as well.
Absolutely.
So reframing how we think of value, I think, can really change the paradigm a little.
And again, that's all searchable content as well. Like that can be searchable content as well. Okay, I kind of like this. We're kind of talking about like the types of high value video content that you can bring. We talked about, answering FAQs, frequently asked questions. We talked about addressing some of the worries maybe your potential customers have by doing, tutorials or other things like that. I like this one, like discussing hot trends in your industry.
Yeah. I've got a couple examples.
Let's go.
Okay, so
fire away.
Earlier on we were talking more from like an evergreen approach, Caleb. We were talking like, how do you create content that has maybe legs to it? 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road, 18 months down the road, it's still relatable to people. But there's also a massive opportunity to being able to take advantage of the trends in your industry. I've got a couple. First of all, so the golf company I worked for, US Golf TV, we did this a lot. I mean, the example of the Golf Channel commercials I just shared, we also would do it a lot with the stuff that was kind of taking place on social media, or like if a player on the professional tour, maybe they had a win or they were going through a hot stretch. Yeah. We could then create a piece of content that says like, what does Rory McIlroy do during his driving that helps him lead the tour? Okay. He gets his hips deep and he's able to, and it's like using the trends of the moment to create content around. And that's the kind of stuff that people are already thinking about. I mean, think about the stuff that's going on in the news currently today. I mean, if you're like a political commentator and there's 3, 4, 5 hot button stories, I mean, those are the stories you probably should be creating content if you can both inform and entertain. Right. And you can truly be authentic in that. Yeah. I think that's a nice caveat I'd like to add. Yeah. Making sure you're not just jumping trends for jumping trends. Right. Jumping trends in a way that's authentic, that provides unique, that brings your voice into the world. Yeah, I like that. That brings your insight into the world. And even if it's agreeing with the insights that are already out there. Anyways, all that to be said, another one is we've got 2 clients. Fisheye still serves 2 clients in the beekeeping space. Yeah. The biggest beekeeping conference in the country is going to take place in January. I'll go. I went last year. I've gone a few times. And they announced that they were going to switch their location from a place in Tennessee. They're now doing it in Kentucky this year. Okay. And so my client when he found out they were switching, he got on. It was timely. All the beekeepers are talking about it.
Yep.
Boom. Hey, this is John. I want to talk about the conference. And he would talk about what he's going to be doing, the products he's looking to offer, the types of deals they can get. Yep. Hey, we've got a website. We'd love for you to check it out. You can save 10 or 20% on your products for the year. Visit us in the booth. Here's how you can buy tickets. Like the second that news drops, it's a pretty big sort of like influencer in this beekeeping space who like drops the news. And if you're one of the first couple pieces of content kind of around that announcement, when we posted a short, it was probably 90 seconds long, announcing the conference to like his audience base, that video did like 4 times the traffic as his previous videos had done, because it was timely, it was moment. People were like, oh, what's the deal here? What did he learn about this? What are the dates? How much is it going to cost me? Taking advantage of the trends. And trends we often think of as like the biggest trends that are happening on NBC Nightly News. And there are micro trends. There are tens of thousands of micro trends happening at any given time.
And if you go back to your community, your audience, right? There's trends within that's where you need to be. Like within that community, that's where you need to be.
That's right.
Yeah. I love that. I love the hot trends. I mean, you look at like a new iPhone release. How many videos in the tech space on YouTube show up once there's a iPhone release? You know, like jump in to those trends. Like going back to that real estate example, right? Maybe Sioux Falls shows up on a top places to live list, right?
That's a really good example.
Top places to live.
Realtors should be snagging this idea.
Video
that's a good idea right there.
Because those show up. People are searching that stuff. I mean, they what am I trying to say? Like they survey these people for a reason, right? And so like those trends are going to show up, jump on those trends.
Yes, absolutely. Bloomberg puts out a thing about top livable places to live.
Yeah.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota ranks 4 on the list and you're a realtor here.
Yeah.
Great opportunity for a trendy piece of content. That's micro trendy, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody in the country is talking about Sioux Falls being 4th on a list on Bloomberg, but like it's micro trendy to the economy here.
And people that are searching, you know, they're going to look at those top places to live as well.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's just really important to keep a pulse on your audience and keep a pulse on your industry and the type of value you're looking to bring this specific industry that you serve.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Chris shows up in the chat here. Chris, thanks for jumping in. What's up from Alabama? Happy to be here. Thanks so much for jumping in, Chris. It's good to have you here. If you have any questions about bringing high value video content to your audience, toss those questions in there.
Fantastic.
Into the chat. Yeah, I love it. Okay. I like this one. Chris did pop in here. Let's bring this up. How would you recommend marketing my video business when my potential customers can vary so much? Do I really need to niche down? That's a really good question, Chris.
Thoughtful.
Yeah. So do you need to niche down maybe into some specific industries when making video content? You have any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be super interested to know what Chris's business is. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. You can chime in, Chris.
Think through, I mean, Chris, if I were you, or maybe you're asking for the audience here, really think through, like, I mean, if you're in business for a purpose, right?
Yeah.
You're either bringing a product or a service to the marketplace that has value to other people.
Right.
If it inherently does not have value, you won't be in business long.
Yeah.
So if it does have value, create content around that value.
Yeah.
So even if it is products that have different levels, maybe it's even Chris taking a personal brand approach. Maybe Chris is the personal brand and he's able to talk about products or services in different industries, or that his potential customers change so much. I mean, he may create a piece of content that is good for 300 customers over here and then need to create another piece of content that's good for another 600 potential customers over there.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff too can boil down a little bit to like business model, business model things
100%.
too. So if your business model's dialed in, it's kind of funny how that can stream right into your marketing, and all of a sudden your marketing gets clearer. You're like, oh, my business model's clear.
Clarity.
Oh wow, now my
clarity is so huge.
My marketing is clear too.
Yeah, totally. Now he did chime in, video production company creating brand stories and short form content for social media. So he has his video business, and this is kind of the direction that he's going.
And he's serving a lot of different types of customers.
Yeah, and you know, like that's kind of what I did with, you know, my video production business is like, instead of niching down necessarily like on the type of industries, I kind of niche down on the type of content that I make.
Yeah.
So like, you know, vertical social media content, and then website videos. Like I'm kind of like focusing in on those 2 areas, and then the business that comes in, would that be a good fit for these? Are they looking for that type of style of content?
Yeah.
Would that be a good fit on my end as well for them?
In the industry Chris might be serving, he might be serving multiple different industries. He might be
absolutely.
at a furniture company today, and then on Tuesday he's at a personal business coach, and then on Wednesday he's at a local grocer. I mean, he might be doing content in a ton of different industries. But at the end of the day, think through who your audience is. I don't think your audience then would necessarily be the industry that you're creating your video in. Your audience is decision makers at these companies, business owners at these companies. So if I'm a business owner and I've got my own company here, and I sit here, and I'll use the beekeeping example. I sell beekeeping supplies. I don't necessarily need to see a video of someone teaching how to create beekeeping content. I just need to see that Chris is showing, here's how I highlighted another business owner's or another decision maker's company in a positive light. People are smart enough to be able to infer themselves in this situation. They're like, oh,
they kind of put themselves there.
He made that guy look like that to his customers. I want Chris to come make me look like that to my customers. People can infer themselves into a place really easily. So
I love that.
Continue to highlight. I would say if he's looking for ideas for content around his own thing, which I imagine Chris is super creative and can probably, he probably has a lot of these ideas, but creating content around the specific people, like doing highlights on the people you're showing content of, I think that would help a lot of other decision makers and business owners in your community to be like, oh, he made that guy look great. I want to look great. Come help me.
I love that. I love it. Okay. We're talking about the different types of, thanks Chris for that question. Talking about the different types of high value video content. We talked about answering FAQs. We talked about addressing worries customers have. We talked about discussing the hot trends in the industries right now. I like this behind the scenes type content.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Do
you have any examples?
There's an example right here. Like, you guys can see like right here, he's got a camera. He's got a camera right here.
I'll pop it up right here.
There's behind the scenes. Look at this. This is all behind the scenes. So this is someone that like, you're creating yourself as like a video expert here in Sioux Falls, and someone's able to see like behind the scenes of like, oh, he really does know what he's doing in this space. So anyways, this is a great example. Another one I have is of a client there that I've worked with for since 2018. They're a manufacturing company here in South Dakota. They do plastic supplies, and they're also in the beekeeping space. Got a lot of beekeeping clients. We should put some bees on the screen.
I love. We should. I love it. Put some bee emojis in the
exactly.
In the chat.
So one of the things that they did is they took one of their like key vendors, key clients. They're actually one of the biggest commercial beekeepers in the country. South Dakota and North Dakota have a ton of commercial beekeepers. So if you're ever driving on like the interstates and stuff, and you just see white boxes stacked up, bees.
I see that a lot.
Bees are everywhere. So, and they're all commercial guys, and you guys have probably seen the bee boxes from this vendor that I'm talking about. But they produce honey from, they'll do 60, 80, 100,000 hives a year.
Wow.
And so our client, who is the manufacturing company, we said, hey, we should go up there and like do a behind the scenes with them. Show off what it looks like to do 80,000 hives. They got the big warehouses, climate control, the hive boxes are stacking up. So we did that. I don't know. The video is maybe 20 minutes long, 22 minutes long. We published it 2 years ago. And I had to go check a couple days ago. I was like, what was the data on that? It's up to almost 450,000 views.
Wow. Amazing.
The beekeeping community just finds it fascinating because they're like able to go behind the scenes with, they may see their operation and they've got 20 hives. And they're like, well, I mean, 20 hives is overwhelming to me. How does the guy that's got 80,000 hives do it? And they're able to see behind the scenes. And obviously process. And they're obviously you need to be conscientious of like proprietary stuff. You can't just turn the cameras on and give away your trade secrets, but doing it in a way that's both protecting of your proprietary nature, protecting of your vendor's nature, but being able to give people a peek behind the scenes is huge. I see this a lot with media brands as well. Media brands that create content on the outside, they create content that goes out, but they can actually dual purpose that content, where if they create content of creating the content, now they've got a piece of content that does like a video series, but then they can go a week later and say behind the scenes of creating this episode of blank, and then that gets released. And it just gives people more buy-in. It makes them feel more connected. I think in today's world, we just crave real things. We crave things we can kind of touch and feel and experience. And so knowing that there's people out there that are doing real things, I don't know. It almost helps us with validity. We're like, oh, it is real. And that's how they do it. Interesting. That's fascinating.
Well, I talk to a lot of artists actually that post maybe to Instagram, like their final products. And they're like, I'm just not getting any engagement, like on my posts. But what's happening is they're only posting the finished product. And, it's as an artist, you're kind of looking for that reassurance and things like on your finished product and things like that. But where the value comes in is that process behind that piece. And so that's where a lot of these artists are getting the engagement, especially on Instagram, are like behind the scenes of like, what font did I use? This is why I chose this font in this piece. Or
so this is awesome. I got a great example on this because you got me thinking. The artist one. There's this video. Have you seen the video of the guy that he like has the blacks and whites and he's just like it seems like he's creating something that's like completely abstract. It makes absolutely no sense. He's going, it's kind of fast. He does some speed ramps to the editing and stuff like that. And you're like, what is he painting? He seems to know what he's doing with the line. And then he gets to the end and he flips it over. And it's like a painting of a guy's head. And it's like amazing. So detailed. If all he would have showed was the painting of the guy's head. Everyone's like, okay, cool. That's a great painting. You painted his head. Very cool.
Very nice.
But the way it went viral,
it is very nice,
was because he went behind the scenes. He showed the process, and someone's like, "Oh, so that was actually brilliant." You did that upside down with all sorts of different variables, and that's what made it go viral.
Absolutely.
Was his process around creating it, not the creating it.
And some of the most popular reels and TikToks are that thing. Like even if you have this nice, polished, high quality video content that was like professionally shot and everything. That very first shot, a lot of people are just making it an iPhone shot of like, oh, here's the camera I used, like here's the camera I used. And then it goes into like that nice polished thing.
Very cool.
It's intriguing. I mean, there are some of those little tricks to, making this video content that can be effective, but think process. Think when you think behind the scenes, think process. What are the steps to getting to that finished product? I love that. Okay. We are running out of time, Troy. We are running out of time. I'm going to go down to this one, which I kind of foreshadowed a little bit ago, is the video podcast. Okay. So we've talked about answering frequently asked questions. We've talked about discussing hot trends. We've talked about addressing worries that customers have. We talked about behind the scenes. Now let's talk about the video podcast. And this is basically a video podcast. This one's live. This one's not recorded. This one's live, but the video podcast. How does this bring value?
So the video podcast, it was like we were talking about earlier. Well, the video podcast here is a form of pillar content. You know, it's a form of pillar content that throughout this clip, there's going to be, and we've been on for 54 minutes. We'll be on probably an hour by the time we're done. Inside that hour, there might be 12 or 15 or 18 or 20 things that are valuable that are 30 seconds, 45 seconds long. So being able to do it in that form, in the long form podcast, gives you the micro snippets. And those micro snippets, especially when you're getting like really good audio, like we're getting here, you can do that. They're so versatile on social media.
Totally.
You could even just put an image up of something. We've got a client that's in the golf industry, destination golf resort. So like you go to the resort, we'll take pictures of the course. And it's just a picture, beautiful picture. And then do the little motions of the audio and put a 35-second audio clip over the picture. Or, put captions maybe on the screen. And that gets a ton of engagement.
Totally.
So it's very versatile in that way. I like the video part of podcasts. Actually, I'm kind of weird. Like the podcasts that I like the most are the podcasts that actually upload their stuff to YouTube. With the video element.
I'm going to get to that in a sec.
You are? Perfect. I won't bury that then. So, but one of the things I like is I'll work a lot with my headphones on. I'll be just kind of grinding away on emails or going through financials of a company or going through a marketing approach or whatever. I'll be listening to podcasts in the background. I like having the podcast with the video form. I typically bury the video form, but if they're starting to say something that's interesting, I'll be like, oh, I actually want to see.
Tune in.
I want to see what their facial expressions are as they're sharing this. I want to see what their voice inflections are like. I want to see how the other person that's not talking on the screen is responding to what they're hearing. I don't know. It provides another layer of communication outside of just the words and the verbiage that comes out of the mouth. It creates another element of communication where you can create that much more trust with someone.
Well, and I will say this, like going along with the video podcast thing is YouTube is putting a huge emphasis on podcasting, specifically video podcasting. They have a whole section now that is video podcasts, and they are going to be pushing that type of content out. So if you are not doing any type of video podcast in 2 weeks, not next week, but the week after, I actually have Nate Peppel on from Earth Tones podcast production. We're going to be talking about this very thing, video podcasts, and why it's so important. And like you said, pillar content, right? But also, going back to YouTube, YouTube wants you to stay on that platform, right? So the longer form content that you have, the longer that you keep people on there, the more rewards your videos are going to find, right? Yeah. So video podcasts on YouTube going into the next couple of years are going to be huge. So be there.
Mark Caleb's words.
Be there.
I love that. And I think too, people try to, like, putting my marketing cap on for a second, people always try to like reverse engineer these platforms. Yeah. And like, how can I break the algorithm? Right, how can I? And it's like, oftentimes these platforms tell you how to break it.
Yep. 100%.
They're not hiding. Yeah. Like Google's not necessarily hiding. People are like, oh, how do I rank for SEO and monitor my keywords? It's like, Google's not hiding. I mean, sure, they're not going to publish exactly how the algorithm works because they don't want people to hack the system. Yeah. But like, they're telling you, like, we just want to we want to be able to provide the content to people that answers their questions.
Yes. Yeah.
So just do the best job of that and you'll rank the highest. Do the thing with the video where, like, if we're telling you we're going to be promoting video podcasts, and they're telling you that.
They're telling you it. Yeah. So be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up. In going along with that, like the algorithm is they are finding an audience for your video. So they're finding that community, they're finding that niche, they're finding the algorithm is doing its job to find viewers for your video.
Yes.
And so with these video podcasts, they're going to be finding them.
And the long form video podcast, the algorithm is going to find sometimes that content with maybe that shorter form content that like piques someone's attention.
Totally.
Like someone I think of that does a really good job of this is like Dave Ramsey with Ramsey Solutions. Gary Vaynerchuk does a good job with this. Actually, maybe the best in the world at this is Joe Rogan.
Yeah, right.
You know, he gets his little clips that go viral. He's sitting down with maybe like Elon Musk or a big name. Yeah. And it'll be a 45-second clip that really hit. And then if it hits at the right time, when something with maybe SpaceX hits at the same time, all of a sudden you'll notice that his interview will go from 4.5 million views to 7.5 million views. And it's because those little pieces of content are pointing back to the big one. And I sometimes will discover stuff that I'm like, oh, I didn't know there's a full length video of this. And I'll see the short form one, click in, and be like, oh, I got to go listen to this. Bookmark that. And that's a podcast for later.
Yeah, it totally is. And what I'll say with this, with what I'm doing with the Video Lab live show too, like, you know, I may get like 20 some viewers on the long form, but I'll get 2,000 views on those little reels that I cut up.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like,
so you're doing it.
So you just point people right back to this pillar content that we're making right now. You know,
that's great.
That's great. Okay. We really got to move. Okay. We're almost out of time. Troy, you have one thing. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. This has been an excellent conversation. There's been high value in this conversation.
A lot of value.
And if you don't get anything else from this whole conversation, this one thing is what you need to take away from this. Troy, what's your one thing that you're going to bring?
I'm super jacked that you prepped me for the one thing.
Yeah.
If I was put on the spot right now, I'd be like, oh no, what's my one thing?
Yeah.
So, I prepared ahead of time, and I think where I landed on when it comes to creating high value content is the best story wins.
Excellent. Okay. Explain.
Best story wins.
I love
so
this.
There's an author named Morgan Housel. He wrote the book Psychology of Money. He's just come out with a second book called Same as Ever.
Okay.
He was at a conference actually last week in Columbia, Missouri that I was at. And he spoke on stage.
Yep.
Gave a great presentation. And he talked about this idea of best story wins. I thought it was really interesting. That was his little micro piece of content, because when I went and Googled best story wins, it pulls up all of his blogs and everything he wrote about. So I was reading all about it. And his whole idea is people aren't necessarily always looking for people don't necessarily know that they're looking for the absolute best product, absolute best service, absolute best price, absolute best. They're looking for the best story. And if you can bridge that gap of price and value and the product and the service and the promise that you have, and you compare that with your personality, people will sometimes pay. We do this all the time. We'll pay more because of a logo on a shoe.
Yeah.
Why does Nike win?
Yeah.
they have the best story around their brand. The best athletes wear it, the best quality. It's been around for whatever.
That movie Air, have you seen that on Amazon?
It's on my list. Oh, I'm a winter movie guy. We're just entering winter. That's when I watch movies.
Make sure you put that on one. Make sure it's on your list.
It's on the list.
So good.
That's best story.
Yeah.
Like Phil Knight 100%. Knew how to win with best story. And it's like, you can do that with your company too. People may end up becoming a customer of yours, not because you offer the lowest price or the absolute best quality of whatever service you're providing, but you can create a story around that for your audience. And to your audience base, that story wins. And when that story wins, you win in the marketplace.
I love it. Love it. Troy, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do this again sometime. And just,
I mean, it took me, I'm 600 feet away. My office was like, I got here in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can
you are
here.
Pretty close. So I don't know. Maybe I'm putting a spring schedule together. It might be in the fall. I don't know, but I would love to just keep going with this conversation.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
seriously,
absolutely.
It's really cool.
All right. I'm going to take you off camera. Thanks for being here, Troy. And for those of you who jumped into the chat, thanks so much for jumping into the chat. It really does make these streams. I want to be a facilitator of conversation. So future reference, jump into the chat, ask questions to these experts that are here on the show. But again, make sure you go download that Video Lab video playbook. It's a free guide, free digital guide for you if you're getting started with video. It's got everything from like optimizing your videos to like finding the best audience for your videos, that type of thing. And it's for starters, but it's also for experts. Maybe you just need a refresher as well. Again, I'm just going to pop this up on the screen right here. This is the future episodes coming up, and this is going to pop up like right over my face. This is so weird. Last week, we did have to postpone the episode with Justin Point about vertical video. That's probably going to be in the spring at some point, but the next 2 episodes coming up, and then the fall schedule's over. But December 4th, like we talked about earlier, Nate Pepple's going to be on Earth Tones podcast production. We're going to be talking about really the power of a video podcast, and what we talked about with Troy here, we're going to go in depth on in that episode. And then December 11th, I've got Steve Gerlich from D2 Worldwide, and we're going to be talking about the AI takeover and how can it actually help you with video marketing? So we're going to be talking AI video concepts and generative AI when it comes to video marketing. So that is going to be a great conversation, December 11th, but no episode next week. In the States here, we are celebrating Thanksgiving. So we're just going to take a little break from the Video Lab live show for next week, but we'll be back December 4th with Nate Pepple talking about video podcasts. So thank you so much for jumping in. Thanks, Troy, for being here. Thank you for everyone who jumped into the chat. This has been a great episode, and I'm excited for 2 weeks. All right. We'll see you then.